Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the level 7 of the OTHM level 5 extended diploma in the business management, and this unit is about the principle and concept of a strategy in the business. First we will discuss the learning outcome 1, in which we try to understand the basic principle of the business strategy. So, what is business strategy? Basically, the business strategy is like the long term plan of any action that any company designed to achieve their particular goal or any set of goals. And it can involve different decision making, like you make the decision on how to allocate the resources on any new program of the company to pursue the objectives effectively. And this strategy also outlines that how your company will compete in the market, which set the priorities for growth and stability of the company. And it also include to identify different opportunities, for example, managing the risk and analyzing the competition. Well, the good strategy always aligns with the mission, vision, and values of the organization. So it is important when you are making the strategy to align it with the mission, vision, and values of your company. And again, the business strategy is always adapting to the changes in the business environment to achieve the sustained success. Now we have the assessment criteria 1.2, in which we compare different levels of business strategy. So in this slide, I will try to explain you people the different levels of business strategy. So we have total three levels of business strategy that we are going to discuss in this slide. The first one is the operational strategy. The operational strategy in the business strategy means day-to-day or daily operations of the company. It is always short-term focus because it is the daily operations of the company, and it is basically about the efficiency and process of the company. Then we have the second level, that is called tactical strategy. Tactical strategy is basically the midterm goals of the company. For example, it can include some resource allocation for any project of the company, or it also includes some departmental coordination in the company. Then we have the third level of the business, that is called as corporate strategy. It is the long term vision. For example, it includes the portfolio management of the business. It can also include some growth and expansion planning of the company. Then we have the third assessment criteria, in which we compare the elements of a strategic framework. So in this slide, we will discuss the different elements of a strategic framework. The first element is the vision. When you are designing the strategic framework of the company, the first thing that you have to keep in your mind is the vision. Like, what is the vision of your company? What is the vision of your business? So vision is basically the future aspiration, and vision is always long term focused, and it is the inspirational goals of the company. Then we have the second element, that is called mission. Mission is basically the purpose of the organization. When you are designing the strategic framework of the company, then it is very important that you have to make sure what is the purpose of your organization, what would be the current activities of your organization, what would be the core values of your organization. These all things are included in the mission of the organization. Then we have the third element, that is called objectives. Before designing the framework, it is again important that you have to keep in mind what would be the objectives of your business. It could include the specific targets of the company, the measurable outcomes of the company, or some time bound goals of the company. Then we have the fourth element, that is called actual strategy. The strategy now is the action plan, that what you are going to do now, what would be your action. Then the next step in the strategy is resource allocation, like what resources you have to allocate to implement the strategy, and what would be your competitive approach to implement the strategy. So if we discuss it in a loop, so we can say that first we will describe the vision of the company, like what is our long term goal, what we are trying to achieve. Then we have the mission, that what is the basic purpose of the company, what would be the core values of the company. Then we would define what would be our objective, what would be our some specific target, and after that we would describe the strategy, that what would be the action plan to fulfill our mission, vision, and objective. What resources would be required to fulfill our vision, mission, and objective, and what competitive approach would be required to remain competitive in the market and fulfilling your vision, mission, and objective. I hope these elements is now clear to you people. Now we will move towards the next slide. So we have the fourth assessment criteria in which we explain the strategy development process. So the first we will discuss the strategy development tactics. What is tactics? Tactics basically focus on the short-term actions that achieve with some immediate objectives of the company, and they are always the concrete steps that company take to support its broader strategic goals. And tactics are always flexible, and you can adjust them quickly to respond to changes. They often involve some specific tasks that are assigned to the teams or departments, and these tactical decisions are typically made at the managerial level or operational level, and these tactics always make sure that the overall strategy of the company is executed effectively on the ground level. Then we have the deliberate versus emergent strategy. So, what is deliberate strategies? Deliberate strategies are basically some planned and structured approach, and it is the strategy that is driven from the top management. So, top management is responsible for making the deliberate strategies, and the objective and plans of this strategy are always very clearly defined. Then we have the emergent strategies. Emergent strategies are the strategies that develop in response to any opportunity in the organization, and these type of strategy are evolved with the time, and they are not pre-planned, and we can merge these strategies from different employees initiatives. So now we have the second learning outcome in which we understand the key business strategy theories and concepts. So the first assessment criteria is to differentiate between different type of business strategy. Now we have the second assessment criterion, which we compare the elements of the strategic management process. So in this slide, there is the comparison of the different elements of the strategic management process. So in this table, you can say that we have the different elements. The first element is the planning. The basic focus of this element is to setting goals, vision, and mission of the company. And what would be the approach of this focus? It is to setting the objective and forecast after the planning. The next element of the strategic management is execution and monitoring. The company will now implement the strategies, track it, and what would be the approach? The approach would be to allocate the resources and continuous monitor it. The third is the review and adjust. In review and adjust, the focus would be on evaluating the different outcomes and adopting the different strategies according to the changing environment. And approach would be the revising strategies or addressing the gaps. Then we have the fourth element, that is scientific management. It focuses on the efficiency and task optimization, and its approach is to maximizing the productivity and labor division of the company. Then we have the it's I think one, two, three, four, five, six one, that is bureaucratic management. It focuses on the formal rules and hierarchy, and its approach is rigid structure and standardized process. Then we have the seventh element, that is human relation, and it focuses on employee motivations, relationships, and its approach would be the teamwork and employee well-being. Then we have the one, two, three, four, last, that is eighth element, that is system management, and it focuses on interconnected subsystems and feedback loop, and its approach is integrated system and holistic management. Now we have the third assessment criterion, which we discuss the organizational theories, basically the key organizational theories which impact the strategy of the business. So the first strategy is the scientific management strategy by the Frederick Taylor. The focus of this strategy is on the efficiency and task optimization. And the approach of this strategy is basically to break the task into the smaller parts, and by doing that, the company can maximize the productivity through the time and motion studies. And it standardizes the work procedure for consistency. And according to this theory, we can train worker for some specialized task which enhance the output of the company. And we can also reward the high performance employees with the incentives. Well, the Taylor always believed that the well organized workforce guided by clear tasks and rewards would always lead to maximum efficiency and productivity across different industries. Now we have the second theory, that is bureaucratic management theory, and it is by Max Weber. So this theory focuses on the some formal rule, hierarchy, and authority. The basic approach sorry, the basic approach of this theory is the first one is it is always establish the clear hierarchy with the defined rules of the employees, and it always implements some strict rules and regulations for the consistency, and its authority is based on position, not the personality, and it always rely on formalized procedures to ensure the efficiency and fairness in the work, and it always promote the employees based on their performance qualification and not on the basis of favoritism. Well, this model always focuses on structure, predictability, stability, which ensures that organization always operate in an effective way by adhering to established protocols and authority levels. Now we have the third theory, that is administrative management by Henry Fayol. So it focuses on effective management practices and organizational structure. Its approach is that it specialized to improve the productivity of the company, and the manager must have the authority to give the orders and the responsibility to ensure the tasks are completed, and its obedience and respect for rules are important and essentials and necessary. An employee should always receive order from only one superior, and it always balances the decision making between the top management and lower levels. And the fuels approach laid the foundation of modern management principle, which focuses on structuring the management roles and function for the efficiency of the organization. Then we have the Hawthorne studies by Elton Mayo. It focuses on human relation and impact of social factors on productivity. If we talk about its approach, then there are some social factor and intention from management that can affect the productivity of the employees. It has some group cohesion and relationship that influence the performance of the individual. Recognition and involvement in decision making always improves the morale of the employee, and the psychological and emotional needs of the employees are always as important as financial rewards in the company. And the supportive leadership is also there, which increase the productivity more than rigid authoritative supervision. Now we have another theory, that is contingency theory by Fred Fiedler. It focuses on leadership effectiveness depends on situations factor. If we talk about its approach, then leadership style must fit the situation, and there are two main style, that is task oriented and relationship oriented. The leadership effectiveness always depend on the leader member relation, task structure, and position power. And there is no universal leadership style that works for all situations, and the Fiddler's LPC scale always help us to determine the leadership style and sustainability. We discussed the two main style in this theory. The first is task oriented and then relationship oriented. The leadership that focuses the task oriented approach will always focus on the task. They are just concerned with the task. They have no concern about the relationship with the employees. They just need the work, or they just want the employees to meet the deadline. And if we talk about the relationship oriented approach, then these type of leaders are more concerned about their relationship with the employees rather than the deadlines or the work to be done. Confident. Then we have the general system theory by Ludwig von Bertalanffy. It focuses on viewing the organization as interconnected system. If we talk about its approach, an organizational are always made up of interrelated parts that are working together, and it is the change in one part that affect the whole system. And it emphasized the importance of feedback loops for stability and adoption. And system must maintain equilibrium to function effectively. The open system interact with the environment and adapt to different changes. Now we have the Douglas McGregor theory, that is called as theory X and theory Y. First, we will discuss what is theory X. Theory X assumes that employees are inherently lazy and lack ambition. Strict rules and some external incentives are always important to get the employees to perform. Then we have the theory why. Theory why assumes that employees are naturally motivated and they enjoy their work. And managers with this point of view always trust the employees to be self-directed. If we talk about their application, then theory X is used for jobs that require strict adherence to procedures, and theory phi fosters a more autonomous participative work environment. Theory X supervision requires close supervision and control to the employee, and theory Y motivation encourages the intrinsic motivation, which allows the employees to feel empowered. But in practice, a combination of both theories is often applied in the company. Now we have the third learning outcome, that is be able to measure the micro and macro environment of the business. So the first assessment criteria is to explain different techniques that are used to measure the micro environment of the business. Now we will discuss what is micro environment and what is macro environment. So the micro environment, we can compare microenvironment with the internal analysis. When we have to check the microenvironment of the company, we will conduct the internal analysis of the company. And sorry, and micro environment includes the factor that directly affect the company, for example supplier, consumer, competitor, and internal resources. And if we talk about the macro environment, then it encompasses the large external factor, for example political, economical, social, technological, environmental, and legal. It is also called a spectral analysis. So when we have to analyze the macro environment of the company, we will do the external analysis, and to do the external analysis we can apply the pastel analysis model on it. And it influence uh, and it basically analyze that how these factor influence the impact, how these all the factors influences the overall industry or economy of the company. So first, we will discuss the value chain analysis. In value chain analysis, we have total two basic activities. The first is the primary activities, and the second is the supportive activities. If we talk about the primary activities, then it includes the inbound logistic of the company, operations of the company, outbound logistic of the company, marketing and sales of the company. And if we talk about the support activities, then it includes procurement, technology development, HRM, and firm infrastructure. So, what is the goal of this analysis? The goal of this analysis is to identify where value is added in the activities of the company and how to optimize those areas for competitive advantage. Then we have the video analysis. Video analysis basically stands for valuable, rare, inimitable, and organized. So, what is valuable? Valuable means the product that provides value or competitive advantage of the company. And what is the result of any valuable product or service? That it always creates the competitive advantage for the company. Then, what is rare? Rare means unique or uncommon product in the market. And what is the result? That it creates rarity in the industry or uniqueness in the industry. Then we have inimitable. Inimitable means difficult to replicate or imitate. And what is its results? That it provides long term advantage to the company. Then what is organized? Organized means effectively structuring all the resources of the company. And what is the result? That it maximize the resource efficiency of the company. Then we have the sector and industry analysis. So the purpose of the sector and industry analysis is to understand the dynamics and competitive forces within the market or within any sector to inform the strategic decision. The key components of this analysis is to analyze the current market size and projected growth rate for the future opportunities, to examine the level of competition, key players, market shares, and strategies used by major competitors. It considered the legal and regulatory framework that impact the operations within the industry, and it looked at how technology influences the sector, including innovation and disruptions. It also reviewed the efficiency and structure of supply chain and distribution channels in the sector, and it identified different customers' gap, their needs, and purchasing behavior within the industry. Then we have the second assessment criteria in which we apply different techniques to measure the microenvironment of the business. If we talk about microenvironment, then we have the value chain analysis, and we applied it on some example, and the example is from the Apple company. If we talk about the inbound logistic of the Apple, then it is the efficient management of its global supply chain and sourcing premium material. If we talk about the operations of the Apple, then it has the high quality manufacturing for innovative product, for example, its MacBooks or its iPhones. If we talk about outbound logistic of the Apple, then it has this seamless distribution through its Apple stores, online platforms, or retailers. And if we talk about marketing and sales of the Apple, then it has this strong brand positioning, high customer loyalty, and premium pricing strategy. And at last, if we talk about the service of the Apple, then it has the excellent customer support, excellent Apple Care service, and Genius Bar in store support. Then we apply the video analysis on Apple. If we apply the video analysis, then what is valuable in Apple? In Apple, its brand value and innovation is valuable, which provides competitive advantage to the company. Then what is rare? Its seamless hardware and software integration is rare in the market. Then what is inimitable? Its brand reputation, its unique design, and its ecosystem are very difficult to replicate. Then we will see that what is organized in Apple. So it is well structured to exploit its resources with strong supply chain and research and development. Now we will apply Porter 5 forces on Apple. So if we talk about threat of new entrants, in case of Apple, then it is very low, uh, because it is not easy for everyone to meet that much capital requirement like Apple to enter into this market. If we talk about bargaining power of supplier, then it is moderate. Apple has the leverage of some suppliers, but again, it relies on some key suppliers. So it is kind of moderate. And if we talk about bargaining power of buyer, then it is very low. Uh, because the customers of the Apple are very loyal to the company, and a strong brand loyalty always reduces the buying power. Then we have the threat of substitute. It is moderate, like substitutes are existing in the market, but the ecosystem of Apple is almost sticky. Then, if we talk about industry rivalry, then it is actually high because there is intense competition in the market with some technological giants, for example, Google and Samsung, and they are giving tough and furious competition to the Apple. Then we have the third assessment criteria of third learning outcome, in which we explain different techniques that we can use to measure the macro environment of the business. So first we will discuss pastel analysis. In pastel analysis, P stands for political. What is political? It includes some government policies, regulations, and political stability that can affect the business. If we talk about the E, then it is economic. It is the economic growth, different exchange rates, inflation, and interest rate that can affect the business or the company. If we talk about S, then it stands for social, which means some cultural trends, some demographic and consumer behaviors that can affect the company or the business. If we talk about T, then T stands for technological. Technological means different technological advancement, innovation, and automation that can affect the company. If we talk about E, then it is environmental. It is basically the environmental protection laws, sustainability laws, and climate change impact that can affect the business. And if you talk about L, then it is legal. Different laws related to labor, employees, or consumer rights, health, and safety that can affect the company. Then we have the SWOT analysis. In SWOT analysis, S stand for strength. Strength basically highlight the internal advantages of the company, like what gives the competitive edge to the company. Then we have W. W stand for weaknesses. It emphasize on the internal areas of vulnerability or limitations of the company. Then we have the O, which stand for opportunities, and it is the external market condition or trends that can be leveraged for the growth of the company. And if we talk about T, then it stands for threat, and it is the external risk that could hinder the organizational performance or success. Then we have the scenario analysis. Scenario analysis always involves to identify and evaluate some possible future events by considering different what if scenarios. It helps the business to prepare for various potential outcomes. It focuses on different uncertainties like market change, political shift, or economic fluctuations. It involves creating best case, worst case, and most likely scenarios, and it also helps in strategic planning, decision making under uncertainty, and risk management. Then we have the fourth assessment criteria of the third learning outcome, in which we apply different techniques to measure the macro environment of the business. So now we will apply these techniques to the same company Apple like we have done before for the micro environment analysis. If we do the partial analysis of the Apple, then if first we will check the political scenario. If we talk about the political scenario for the Apple, then Apple will see the trade regulations, tariff, and political instability in its key market, for example, China or India. Then we have the economic factor, and in case of Apple will consider the different exchange rate fluctuations, inflation that can impact the purchasing power of its customer, and global economic downturns. Then we have the social factors that Apple can consider, and it include the customer preferences for premium product, strong brand following, and growing concern for privacy. And if we talk about the technological factor for the Apple, then it is the rapid innovation, increasing competition in technological industry, and focusing on AR and AI technologies. And if we talk about environmental factors, then it always focus on sustainability, reducing e-waste, carbon neutrality, and renewable energy initiative. And if we talk about the legal factor, then it is the uh, patent infringements, data privacy regulations, and compliance with antitrust laws. Now we will apply SWOT analysis to the Apple company. If we talk about the strengths, then the strength of the Apple is its strong brand loyalty, its innovative product design, and its extensive ecosystem. If we talk about its weakness, then it is its high dependency on just iPhone sale and its premium pricing that limits the affordability of the customers. If we talk about the opportunities, then opportunities of the Apple is its expansion into the new markets, its growth in variables and services like Apple Pay. If we talk about threats of the Apple, then it is the intense competition, for example, Samsung and Google in the market, supply chain disruptions, and lawsuits. Now we have the fourth learning outcome, in which we understand the business strategic option. The first assessment criteria is to explain what is meant by the term strategic option. So, strategic option refers to some potential course of action that the company can pursue to achieve its long-term objective and its competitive advantage. Some key points includes that it represents a different path the business could take, for example, growth, diversification, or cost reduction. It involves evaluating risk, benefit, and alignment with company's goal, and it helps in choosing the most appropriate strategy in response to the internal and external factors of the company. Now we have Porter's generic strategies. In Porter's generic strategy, first we have cost leadership strategy. And this strategy, we try to achieve the lowest production cost to offer the product at the lower price than our competitor. Then we have differentiation. In differentiation, we will offer some unique product or service that are perceived as superior in innovation or quality. Then we have cost focus. In cost focus, we target our niche market while we also maintain our cost efficiency to offer the lowest price. Then we have differentiation focus. In differentiation focus, we target some niche market by offering specialized differentiated products. Now we have vertical and horizontal integration. In vertical integration, uh, when we talk about vertical integration, the company expands itself by taking control of its supply chains, either upstream to supplier or downstream to distributor. And if we talk about horizontal integration, then it is when the company grows by acquiring or merging with the competitors in the same industry at the same production level. Now, at the second assessment criteria of the fourth learning outcome, we will compare different strategic options that are available to the business. So, the first is the internationalization. Internationalization is basically expanding your operations into the foreign or international market, and it helps the company to access to the new customer bases and increase its market share. And it helps the company to adopt different cultural, legal, and economic environment. And there is also some potential risk for diversification and reduced dependency on domestic market. And it always increase the competitiveness of the company by tapping into the global resources and technologies. Then we have different available options, that is merger. Merger is when two companies combine to form a single entity, usually to increase their market share or operational efficiency. This is called merger. Then we have acquisition. In acquisition, one company purchases the other company to take the full control of its assets and its operations. Then we have joint venture. In venture, there is a partnership between two or more companies to collaborate on some specific project or business activity while remaining independent entities. Now, at the third assessment criteria, we will recommend and justify some relevant strategic options which a business could implement. So I am just recommending some strategic option here. It's not necessary for every business. It's just the general recommendation. You can say the company can have different strategic option based on its requirement and based on its scenarios or its market environment. So here I am recommending the strategic option, that is acquisition, and I have some justification for acquisition. That is, if I am going to acquire some company, then it always allow me to expand my company rapidly in the market through immediate entry into the new market, and it always provide my company to instant access to the assets, customers, and technology of that company of which we acquired, and it always enhance the competitiveness of my company by eliminating my rival as I acquired it, and it increased my market share too, and always offers synergy opportunities for my company for cost reduction and operational efficiency. So I have some reasons for this acquisition. And it always provides immediate revenue growth and positions the company for long-term strategic advantages. Thank you so much. It's all about Unit 7 of the Level 5 Extended Diploma in the Business Management. I hope everything is clear to you people. If there are any questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.